Hey guys, it's Natalie here. So I wanted to come and give you guys an update and show you, since I'm already out in the backyard. I was eating my lunch out here, filming a little bit, showing you guys some of the small changes that I'm making in my diet within the dairy. I'm pretty much over the meat. Once in a while I would have it, but I haven't had it for a long time. But I wanted to show you guys just kind of what's been growing since I last planted my garden, and my massive mammoth size sunflowers that I planted not too long ago. About, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago, if that. You guys can see how big they've gotten. And then I'm also going to show you where the bees like to come. This little spigot right here. And there's wasps and hornets and all that fun stuff, but there's also bees. Actually, funny story, I'll quickly tell you guys while I'm walking over to my garden. When I was in junior high, my parents had a house that we were living in, and I lived up in this loft up in the garage, up above the garage. It had slanted walls, but it was awesome. Me and my sister shared it. Later on, it just became mine, but oh, see if I can show you guys a butterfly. Oh, pretty butterfly. Anyway, my peas, we kind of went too late upon getting them strapped onto something, or allowing them to be strapped onto something. So they're still alive. They're good. They're getting heavy, so we need to pick a lot of those snapped peas on there, if you guys can see them. That way it'll lighten it a little bit to where hopefully they can start growing more upward. Then our tomato plant, it's got tomatoes growing. And all of these plants were grown from seeds. They're organic as well. Spinach needs to be picked. Kale's getting there. Lots and lots of lettuce. I believe that's romaine. Pretty butterfly. We had a lot of dragonflies around here too. The onions are getting ready to be picked. And also, there's one thing I wanted to show you guys, and I'll finish my story in a second about the bees. But right here, this plant up front, it was a potato, an organic potato that was growing. And so I decided that since it was already growing in the house, that I might as well transplant it outside under the dirt and see what happens. And so I did. And oh goodness, there's just butterflies everywhere. Anyway, sorry, distraction. So, the potatoes, sorry. So, I planted it, and we were curious to see what was growing, and we could see it was kind of pushing from upward. Whether or not I, should have dug it deeper, I don't know a lot about growing potatoes, but there is a ton that grew underneath their potatoes, so kind of excited. So anyway, let's not my sing for a second. Finish telling you guys that story about the yellow jackets. They're actually yellow jackets. So I'm up in my room, and so many nights I kept hearing something. I just ate, so if I have anything in my teeth, you guys, I'm sorry. I kept hearing stuff at night, especially, and it sounded like there was a mice or a rodent or something, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I kept telling my mom about it, and my mom's like, oh, I'm like, I swear, Mom, something's going to come out in the middle of the night, and it's going to attack me or something. And so she just thought I was just being all paranoid or something, as kids sometimes can get. And so one morning I'm getting ready for school, and we had these like stick thingies that you just get from the hardware store. You have them cut, dowels, but they were thick, to prop open our windows, because our windows were the way that they were, made or whatever, they wouldn't stay up very much by itself. They were so heavy. They were really heavy duty windows. And so we would use those to prop those up during the summertime and everything. Well, I one day was getting ready for school one morning, and I kept hearing this noise that kept getting louder and louder, and it wasn't just at night anymore. So I went ahead and took the only thing I could think of that I could reach up with the ceiling that was slanted like this. It went up high, but it was slanted. They were both slanted because it was like a loft. And I went and I poked it where I could hear the noise coming from. And this is not what I expected. It went through like crepe paper through the ceiling. It was like a stick going through crepe paper. And, I was just going to bump it just to see if, it would stop making the noise or if it would start back up or whatever. No, it went through like, I did not expect it to go through like crepe paper. I wasn't even bumping it that hard. And as soon as I bumped it, put my stick back out, all these swarms of yellow jackets just came flooding out just everywhere in my room. My room was pretty big. It was as big as a full car garage. So they were just flying everywhere. I had a tall ceiling. They were just everywhere. And I was just in the middle of this going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I was really stunned. So I got out of there as best as I could and told my mom, shut the door and told my mom. And what's funny about this whole thing is because my mom said I still had to go to school. And so I said, well, if you want me to go to school, I still need my makeup. So my mom had to run back in. I made my mom run back in and get my makeup for me. She was the one who made me go to school, is how I saw it. So, and I was kind of bummed because she was on the news, and I was just, for some reason as a kid, I don't know, we think that stuff's really cool. And so I was like, gosh darn it, I knew something like that was going to happen because it was such a big incident that happened. So we were on the news in Utah, and I don't know if I have the clipping for it. I have the pictures of what happened. So they sent an exterminator, and come to find out, when I came home, the entire roof, walls, everything were completely caved in. He had picked through and had to pull open everything. The entire thing was infested, completely infested with yellow jackets, nests and all. And the rank of that smell from the poison, I can still smell it to this day. And so I was, at the time, I was really sad, but it was so funny because I almost related it when I went and saw Jupiter Ascending. I don't know if you guys have seen Jupiter Ascending. She has a connection with the bees and stuff, and even these were yellow jackets. To this day, I've never been stung by a bee. The bee, or the essence of the bee family, is a feminine aspect. So, and don't get me wrong, because I've got plenty of other aspects that it's a constant process, right? But it was like, I hadn't even looked at the symbolism of that. And so I found it really interesting that, why did they pick my room? Why did they pick that area of the house? Some people could say it's just coincidence. But, I don't know. It reminded me of that movie Jupiter Ascending, and yeah, still to this day, I've never been stung by a bee. They don't frighten me. I don't get scared by them. I just, because the fact of thinking, if something traumatic has happened to you within your memory, you're going to be afraid of it. Because you remember, you have that memory of that, and then that emotional connection of how much that was so painful for you. And I was thinking about it, and if we think a little bit deeper into it, if you don't have that pain or that emotion of that memory, you're not fearful. But because there are plenty of people that I know who have been stung many times, even someone I'm living with now, one of my roommates, and his number one fear, the way of dying, number one fear is bees. So I found that really, really interesting that for me, we were talking, on some deep levels. I'm not afraid of them. I've never been stung by them. somebody who I was talking to at the time, that was his number one fear, because he had been stung so many times his entire life. And so there's other excuse me, there's other things in life that I am afraid of. And it's a matter of maybe more understanding why we feel like that, but being able to, it's actually going a step further, and that's what I'm working on right now in a different aspect of, okay, I've had this pain, wherever it is, wherever it's emotional pain, physical pain, any of that. How do we be aware without fearing it? And so that's kind of where I am. And, you hear people talk about this stuff all the time, but in my own experience with different things and different ways and different aspects of viewing it, I'm to that point where some of this stuff has come up for me to look deeper into it. And so until I fully am able to more understand this, I try not to speak too much on it unless I've actually experienced it. And I have on different levels, but like I said, it's just evaluating things, observing that, and knowing that things happen in our life for a reason, and how immensely connected our memory and our emotions are. And sometimes when it's so traumatic, sometimes in childhood we end up forgetting about it, or if we have a past life regression, something else has come up, but then it's still embedded in there. And so I'm wondering to myself, by experience, I've heard many people talk about this, but truly, how do we overcome a lot of this stuff, especially the deep ones, the deep wounds, the deep pains, on a much deeper level? To experience it is quite different than just to sit here and say that, talking about it and saying what somebody else has to do about it. Sometimes you have to truly look within yourself and find the answers for yourself, specifically with what you're going through, because not everything's going to work for everybody. Some of it will. Sharing experiences may help you observe things differently in your life, just like I will listen to somebody else and something will be brought to my attention that I can help myself in realizing with my own life. It doesn't have to be any cookie cutter shape. So anyway, I know this is kind of a long one. I didn't want it to turn into this long, but I hope that maybe helps you guys to look at your own amazing lives, no matter what you've been through, and appreciate and be able to observe it. And this will continue. Like I said, this is a new chapter. This is a new aspect that I'm heading into on a much deeper level. So looking at the other things that maybe I do fear more to my core that have not been dealt with. A lot of that goes into the physical with me. And I do fear, what do I fear? Well, the last year has definitely heightened that, so I've got some new lessons that I've decided to take on to learn, so on much deeper levels, that I believe will help me in other ways greatly. And now I'm just rambling. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Much love.